Hello, my name is Amy and welcome to my channel. Happy Thursday to you. I am a licensed mental health therapist and I work with individuals that have anxiety, OCD, and trauma. I myself am an OCD sufferer and have been in recovery from OCD for several years now. And I would like to pass on the information that I have learned in my own recovery, as well as the information I have learned professionally. This information that I do present is not meant to replace treatment. So if you are suffering from OCD, any mental health related challenge, addiction, etc., please seek a licensed therapist to help you along in your journey. Today, I would actually like to talk about the OCD cycle. OCD is definitely a vicious cycle and can create addictive-like qualities. And so I want to talk about the comparison of those two things at the end of this video. So let's start with obsessive thoughts. So with the OCD cycle, it typically starts with what are called obsessive thoughts or obsessions. And what these obsessive thoughts are is, I like to call them sticky thoughts. They're thoughts that nag you, kind of hook to your brain and don't give up easily or don't go away easily. And it can be very distressing and disturbing for the sufferer. And so the individual that has OCD or an OCD-like brain, what happens is they will have these disturbing thoughts, and these disturbing thoughts will give way to anxiety. And sometimes the obsessive thought, or sometimes the cycle might start with anxiety and then obsessive thoughts, or obsessive thoughts and then anxiety. It's kind of more like a chicken and egg situation, but they're both very much connected. So with these obsessive thoughts, it might start with what's called an intrusive thought. Again, these thoughts are disturbing in nature and unsettling for the individual. And these unsettling thoughts, because they don't go away easily, what happens with the OCD sufferer is the OCD sufferer then attempts to perform a mental or a behavioral act to try to relieve the obsessive thoughts and relieve the anxiety. And these compulsive-like behaviors can be things like constant checking, constant repeating in one's mind, or repeating an action outwardly. It might be seeking reassurance. That's a big issue with OCD, is what's called reassurance seeking. And with reassurance seeking, someone might seek relief by asking for reassurance from another person or trying to get that reassurance from themselves. If they're a faith-based person or they struggle with scrupulosity, they may even ask God for reassurance or for a sign that they're okay or that they're forgiven or things of that nature because of these disturbing, intrusive, and obsessive thoughts. So with these compulsions, again, they can be behavioral or mental compulsions, but nonetheless, they are very ritualistic in nature. And the goal of doing these rituals are to relieve the anxiety that the obsessive thoughts create or to relieve the obsessive thoughts themselves. So what happens after someone performs a ritual or a compulsion, they will experience temporary relief. And with that temporary relief, a sense of confirmation might come for that person. So, oh, I performed this compulsion and now I'm feeling relief, so I must have done the right thing. And so what happens with the person's wiring is it causes this cycle to continue to repeat itself. They feel temporary relief. It informs the system, oh, I must have done the right thing by performing this compulsion. Let's do that again and again and again every single time this happens. And so that's a lot of where the vicious cycle takes place. So the person might feel temporary mental and emotional or maybe even physical relief from the compulsive act that reinforces the cycle. What happens after the temporary relief is that that relief will subside. So when that relief subsides, the person is probably, or I should say will, go back into the obsessive thought loop pattern. Because remember, with OCD, it's not about the subject that a person is obsessing and compulsing about. It is about the core of OCD itself. And so temporary relief happens, the relief subsides, intrusive and obsessive thoughts, worry, anxiety are going to return, and the individual is going to go back into the same cycle oh, last time I received temporary relief. The wiring makes a note to self, so to speak. So when I have these again, I must need to do the compulsive act or the compulsive mental ritual again. And then it takes you right through this cycle all over again. I hope that makes sense. Pretty simple. I would say this is kind of a little bit of a rogue version of my own OCD cycle. There are several others that are very similar, but I wanted to show you what that vicious cycle looks like. And going back to the addictive part of it, or the addiction related mentality involved with OCD, to me, OCD and addiction are so similar, whether it's drugs or alcohol or certain behaviors. Those are called process addictions, where addictions are more behavioral and not necessarily involving a substance that can alter, brain chemistry in terms of ingesting something and whatnot. So any type of addictive behavior really follows a very similar cycle as the OCD cycle. The obsessive thought might be a nagging need to give into a certain addictive behavior. That addictive behavior, that desire to give into the addictive behavior, then will lead to giving into the addictive behavior, whether it's a substance or an action or things of that nature. So what happens here, same thing, that when the person gives into the addictive behavior, they feel temporary relief. It tells their internal wiring, oh, we must do this again because it created relief. But then the relief subsides. If any of you know anyone, or you yourself struggle with addiction, you know that this is the cycle. Relief subsides, the emptiness or the pain returns, the nagging thoughts to give into that addiction now come back onto the scene, and it causes the person to go into compulsions, and it creates the compulsive behavior, addictive behavior, I should say, and back into this cycle. So OCD and the addiction mentality are very, very similar. The good news is that both of those are very treatable. And again, if you are struggling with either of these, please seek help from the properly trained or licensed person. So thank you so much for watching my video today. Please hit like, leave a comment below. Definitely open to suggestions for video subjects. And I hope you learned something today, and I hope you have an awesome day. Thank you so much. Talk to you soon.